The opening line hit you before you were even fully awake. Not barking. Not whining. Just the sound of your dog slowly walking across the bedroom floor in the dark, pausing beside your bed, and resting their chin gently against the mattress like they needed to confirm you were still there. You check the clock. 3:17 a.m. And somehow, even after years together, your dog still wants reassurance that you exist within reaching distance. Most people think they understand what dogs want from us. Food. Walks. Toys. Treats. Simple. But behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. Because the things your dog hopes you keep doing forever may have very little to do with entertainment, and almost everything to do with emotional safety. What your dog is asking from you every single day may actually be one of the deepest attachment systems ever documented between two different species. And most owners have absolutely no idea. Let's start with the obvious theory, because honestly, it sounds reasonable. Dogs love whoever feeds them. That's what most people assume. Food equals attachment. Simple. But here's the problem. If food alone explained emotional bonding, your dog wouldn't care about half the things they obsess over. They wouldn't wait outside bathroom doors. They wouldn't stare at you while you leave for work. They wouldn't calm down just because they heard your voice from another room. And they definitely wouldn't choose sleeping beside your uncomfortable legs over the perfectly soft dog bed sitting 10 feet away. Your dog has options. Warm laundry piles. Sunny windows. Couches. Rugs. Entire sections of the house specifically designed for comfort. So why do they keep choosing you? And this is where dog psychology becomes incredibly emotional. Because dogs don't just form reward-based relationships. They form attachment-based relationships. Your dog isn't simply attached to what you provide. They're attached to what your presence does to their nervous system. Which means the 6 things your dog hopes you never stop doing aren't luxury behaviors. They're emotional anchors. Rituals that tell your dog, you are safe. You belong here. You are not alone. And honestly, once you understand that, ordinary moments with your dog stop feeling ordinary at all. The first thing your dog hopes you never stop doing is greeting them like they matter when you come home. Even if you were only gone 20 minutes. In 2013, researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine Vienna adapted the strange situation test, originally designed to study emotional attachment between infants and parents. Dogs were placed into unfamiliar environments while researchers observed behavioral changes during separation and reunion with owners. And what they found was extraordinary. Dogs consistently treated their owners as secure emotional bases. Stress dropped significantly during reunion. Confidence returned. Exploration increased. And physical proximity behaviors intensified immediately after owners came back. That dramatic excitement when your dog hears your keys. The spinning. The whining. The sprint toward the door like you've returned from war after buying toothpaste. That's not just excitement. When your dog greets you intensely after separation, they are performing one of the most fundamental behaviors in attachment psychology. Re-establishing emotional connection after absence. They are not being dramatic. They are telling you, my world feels normal again now that you're back. And this is where it gets deep. Because many owners unintentionally ignore reunions. They come home distracted. On the phone. Rushing around. Barely making eye contact. But to your dog, reunions matter emotionally. A calm hand on their head. A soft voice. 10 seconds of acknowledgement. Those tiny rituals stabilize attachment. And your dog hopes you never stop doing them. The second thing your dog hopes you do forever is talking to them. Even when they don't understand every word. Because dogs are constantly studying emotional tone, rhythm, facial expression, and vocal patterns. Researchers from Eötvös Loránd University in Hungary discovered dogs process emotional tones using brain regions remarkably similar to humans. Meaning your dog isn't only hearing language. They are reading emotional intent. The soft voice you use when they are nervous. The cheerful tone during walks. The quiet reassurance during thunderstorms. To humans, it sounds small. To dogs, it becomes emotional orientation. And here's the fascinating part. Dogs often respond more strongly to tone than vocabulary itself. Which means your dog may not remember the exact words you said yesterday. But they absolutely remember how your voice made them feel. That's why older dogs with fading eyesight still relax when they hear you speak from another room. Your voice becomes neurological familiarity. An emotional landmark. And honestly, your dog hopes you never stop using it. The third thing your dog quietly depends on is physical touch. But here's where it gets really interesting. Because this isn't just psychology. It's chemistry. In 2015, researchers from Asabu University and the University of Tokyo published one of the most important canine attachment studies ever conducted. They examined oxytocin exchange between dogs and humans. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It's associated with trust, attachment, emotional regulation, and social safety. Researchers measured oxytocin levels before and after affectionate interaction between dogs and owners. And what they found shocked scientists. Eye contact and physical affection increased oxytocin levels in both species simultaneously. Not just humans. Both. Your dog's brain was chemically responding to emotional closeness with you. And then something even more fascinating happened. As oxytocin increased in humans, owners became more affectionate toward their dogs. Which increased oxytocin in the dogs even further. A biological feedback loop. An attachment system strengthening itself in real time. And here's the remarkable part. Wolves raised by humans did not show the same response. This only happens in domesticated dogs. Meaning this neurochemical bond specifically co-evolved between dogs and humans over thousands of years. Now think about what happens during something as simple as rubbing your dog's ears while they slowly fall asleep beside you on the couch. Steady touch. Body warmth. Breathing synchronization. Scent familiarity. All deeply associated with oxytocin release and cortisol reduction. Researchers from Claremont Graduate University also found interaction with bonded dogs significantly lowered human cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. Scientists believe dogs experience similar calming effects during prolonged affectionate contact. Meaning your dog doesn't simply enjoy cuddling with you. Their nervous system may literally regulate around your touch biologically. And your dog hopes you never stop reaching for them. The fourth thing your dog hopes you keep doing forever is maintaining routines. Walk times. Morning rituals. The way you say goodbye before work. The sound of the leash cabinet opening. The nightly routine before bed. Humans think routines are habits. Dogs experience them emotionally. Because predictable behavior creates psychological stability. And this makes evolutionary sense. The answer is basically from the beginning. Roughly 15,000 years ago, long before cities or written language, wolves began approaching early human campsites. Not aggressive wolves. The calmer ones. The socially tolerant ones. The wolves capable of emotionally adapting to predictable human behavior gained access to food, warmth, and survival. Over generations, humans unintentionally selected for emotional synchronization. Eventually, wolves became dogs. But dogs evolved something unique. Hypersensitivity to human behavioral patterns. Modern genetic studies from institutions including Princeton University found domestic dogs carry genetic variations associated with hypersocial attachment and responsiveness to human emotional cues. Dogs evolved to monitor us, study us, predict us, depend on consistency from us. Which means your routines become emotional architecture inside your dog's brain. And when routines suddenly disappear, dogs often experience genuine stress responses. That's why schedule changes can affect appetite, sleep, anxiety levels, and clinginess. To your dog, routine doesn't mean boredom. Routine means safety. And honestly, they hope you never stop creating that stability for them. The fifth thing your dog desperately hopes you continue doing is noticing when something feels wrong. Now, I want to tell you about a reality many owners miss completely. Dogs are masters at hiding discomfort, pain, stress, fear, cognitive decline, especially older dogs. Research estimates canine cognitive dysfunction affects nearly 35% of dogs over age 13. And behavioral changes are often among the earliest warning signs. Less excitement during greetings, sleeping in isolated areas, reduced eye contact, stopping behaviors they've repeated for years. Your dog doesn't have language. Behavior is how they communicate physical and emotional changes. And this is where it gets heartbreaking. Because many dogs continue comforting their humans even while suffering themselves. Which means one of the greatest acts of love your dog hopes you never stop doing is paying attention, noticing subtle changes, protecting them the way they've spent their entire life trying to protect you emotionally. They don't need perfection. They just need to know someone is listening. And finally, the sixth thing your dog hopes you do forever is staying emotionally present. Because recent studies in 2023 and 2024 examining canine-human synchronization discovered something extraordinary. Researchers measuring heart rate variability, HRV, found bonded dogs and owners often showed synchronized stress patterns during interaction. Their nervous systems were literally influencing each other. But this only happened within bonded pairs. Strangers showed no meaningful synchronization. This only happens when genuine emotional attachment exists. Think about that for a second. Your stress affects your dog biologically. Your calm affects them too. Which means when you sit quietly beside your dog after a difficult day, when you breathe slower, when you comfort them during storms, when you simply exist together peacefully on opposite ends of the couch, something measurable may actually be happening neurologically in both of you. Your dog isn't just living beside you. They're emotionally calibrating around you. And this is where it gets profound. Maybe your dog never cared about perfect obedience. Maybe they cared about emotional presence. Maybe the greatest thing your dog ever wanted was not a perfect owner, just a connected one. There's one last thing I need to tell you. And honestly, it might be the most important part of this video. One day, your dog will unknowingly do many of these things for the last time. The last greeting at the door. The last nighttime cuddle. The last slow walk around the block. And you won't realize it's the last one while it's happening. Which is why these small daily rituals matter so much. Because to your dog, these behaviors were never small. They were love translated into routine. Safety repeated consistently across years. Proof that their favorite person still chose them every single day. So the next time your dog follows you into the bathroom like a deeply underqualified security guard, or presses against your legs at 2 a.m. despite leaving you approximately 6 inches of mattress, remember what may actually be happening. 15,000 years of evolution. A neurochemical attachment system unlike almost any other species relationship on Earth. A nervous system shaped to bond with yours. And a living creature quietly hoping you never stop doing the tiny things that make them feel emotionally safe. Because to your dog, those small moments were never small at all. If this changed how you see your dog, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. I want to know, which one of these 6 things does your dog seem to love the most? And if you want to understand why your dog stares at you while you sleep, the psychology behind that behavior is even stranger than you think.